Well, good afternoon and welcome to the DAHOAN show. If you've spent much time at all on social media, you're almost certainly familiar with the concept of a cyber troll. Trolls, in the internet sense of the word, are basically people who go around leaving incendiary comments just to stir up trouble or make a nuisance of themselves. Now, I'm thankful that I've never really had a problem with cyber trolls on my YouTube channel. The vast majority of the comments that I get on my videos are constructive. Either they're complimentary comments, people just telling me how much they appreciate the content, which is great. It's always nice to know that somebody out there is actually benefiting from the content that I post. Or some comments will just express additional perspective, provide relevant information that maybe I didn't think to include in the video. Some of them, may provide constructive criticism of saying, hey, you did it this way, but it might have been better to do it this way. Or I get a lot of comments with suggestions for, other things to try, other projects to take on. And that too, I think, is constructive to the conversation, even though I may not always have time to try out all of those additional ideas. But bottom line, the vast majority of the comments that I get are constructive. I think it's good conversation that's happening on my videos, and I want to thank all of you viewers who have participated in that and made that possible and kept the dialogue on my videos pretty civil. However, I'm not immune to cyber trolls either. I do get that small minority of trolling comments. So over time, I've noticed that these trolling comments that I get can be grouped into specific categories. Now, in the natural sciences, particularly biology, scientists have a system for categorizing different life forms. Your kingdom, phylum, class, order, family, genus, and species provides this hierarchical system of categorization for classifying life forms, which we refer to as taxonomy. Well, since I've observed these different categories of trolls that I can classify based on their behavior, it occurred to me that it might be entertaining to come up with a taxonomy of cyber trolls. And so that's what I'm going to present here today. Now, to begin with, I've decided to put all cyber trolls in the genus Troglocybus, which is basically Latin for cyber troll. Obviously, it's not an exact translation because Latin pretty much died as a language long before computers were born. But anyway, we're putting all trolls in the genus Troglocybus, and in the following slides, I'm going to discuss the different species of cyber trolls that I have observed. Troglocybus pseudoperitus, the fake expert troll. This is the guy who is sufficiently ignorant as to have an adamant opinion about everything, from politics to astronomy to the design of lug nuts, and no matter what topic your video may be discussing, or how clearly you present it, or how thoroughly you back up the ideas that you present, he is naturally obliged to set you straight by leaving a very lengthy comment in which he vehemently disagrees with everything that you said. These trolls are usually pretty harmless. Seldom does anyone actually take the time to read their comments, but the time that they spend writing them boosts your video's watch time, which may make it look better to YouTube's promotional algorithms. Troglocybus celinebrius, the Drunken Party Troll. This species of troll are naturally gregarious creatures who tend to congregate in basements and apartment complexes where they consume large amounts of fermented beverages and watch videos on YouTube late into the night. They keep up a running commentary among themselves on the videos they are watching, and every once in a while, one of them makes a comment that the others find so hilarious they feel obligated to share it with the world. And so they type it in as a comment on the video in question. Unfortunately for the rest of the world, the comment that they leave makes absolutely no sense to anyone who did not hear the rest of their commentary up to that point and who did not consume the same quantity of alcohol immediately prior to reading it. Troglocybus malfactus, the insecure troll. Individuals from this species of troll are characterized by a complete lack of meaningful personal achievements in life, coupled with both the realization of this dearth and an absolute sense of hopelessness with regards to ever achieving anything. This, in turn, fuels an intense resentment towards anyone who ever accomplishes anything, which is manifest in the multitude of inanely belittling or defamatory comments that they spew forth onto the internet in an apparent attempt to justify their own lack of achievements by reducing the whole of human achievement to utter worthlessness. Once you learn to recognize comments left by Troglocybus malfactus, they become relatively inconsequential because, after all, the mere fact that a member of this species left a belittling comment on one of your videos implies at some level that he recognizes you achieved something that he couldn't. In the event you choose to reply to their criticism of your projects or videos, simply inviting them to demonstrate how it could be done better generally sends them scurrying in terror back to the safety of a den under a bridge or in their parents' basement. Troglocybus clibulaesa, the Clickbait Bitten Troll. Clickbait is undeniably a serious problem on the internet, and it falls into two basic categories. First-degree clickbait consists of a video that holds absolutely no value or interest to anyone except possibly close friends or family of the person who filmed or appeared in it, and yet is posted publicly with a title and/or description intended to mislead as many people as possible into clicking on it. When you watch a first-degree clickbait video, you find out almost immediately that you've been taken. For example, I once clicked on a video whose title and description made it sound like it would be an exposition of new and innovative munitions technologies for anti-aircraft artillery. In fact, the video proved to be an unnarrated clip of some kid attempting to shoot skeet and obviously filmed using a phone with a very poor camera. Nobody who doesn't personally know the kid in the video would ever have any reason to watch it. But I and over 1 million other people were duped into clicking on it. Second-degree clickbait consists of a video which contains genuine content and has legitimate value, but whose title and description are so sensationalized as to be intentionally misleading, attempting to inflate the credibility or applicability of the video far beyond the audience to which it may legitimately appeal. For example, I once saw a video titled "Mastering the Masculine Arts," or something to that effect, which really should have been titled "My First Attempt at Blacksmithing." It was a reasonably well-made video about the author's first attempt at forging a coat hook, an attempt, by the way, which was not particularly successful. Persons looking to get started in blacksmithing could certainly glean some lessons learned from that video, so the content had some legitimate value. However, in the course of the video, the author never mastered anything, nor did he even attempt to enumerate what he considered to be the masculine arts, much less how one would go about mastering them. Thus, the title was undeniably misleading, and this led to a sense of general disappointment with the content of the video. So, clickbait is a real thing, and it's a real problem, but here is where Troglocybus clibulaesa comes in. This is the troll who has fallen victim to clickbait so many times that he's been traumatized to the point where every time he watches a video that doesn't completely shatter his wildest possible fantasies of what a video on that general topic might conceivably be, he accuses the video of being clickbait and leaves a scathing comment to that effect. Troglocybus ignoramus, the ignorant troll. Almost every video requires some amount of prior knowledge in order to fully comprehend. For example, if a viewer does not understand the words that are being used to explain something, then the explanation will make no sense to him. If a person realizes his own ignorance of a particular topic, he can always take a step back and look up the definitions of the words he doesn't understand, or find other videos that address a given subject at a more elementary level. But Troglocybus ignoramus never does that. Instead, he leaves a scathing critique of the video in the comments that makes his ignorance painfully apparent to everyone but him. As an example, I have been shocked to discover how many people don't know the difference between power tools and machine tools, as exemplified by some of the comments left by this species of troll on my popular video, Making a Rifled Barrel Without Machine Tools. Troglocybus cerdicaecus, the Overlooking Troll. This is the guy who leaves a comment critiquing your video based solely on an issue that you actually addressed explicitly in the video, but which he obviously didn't pay any attention to. When you're doing your best to present good content clearly, Troglocybus cerdicaecus can be one of the most frustrating of trolls to deal with. Troglocybus bellantibus, the belligerent troll. This is probably the most dangerous species of cyber troll, especially in the event that you find yourself confronted by a whole pack of them at once. The reason being that this species is distinguished primarily by its vindictiveness. Basically, this is the troll who, for some reason, or perhaps for no tangible reason at all, decides to make you his enemy. Maybe he dislikes you because of your skin color, or your religion, or the way you dress, or your stance on some political issue. But whatever his reasons or lack thereof, upon discovering your channel, he feels it is now his mission in life to take you down. His attack typically starts with leaving copious numbers of inflammatory comments, but it doesn't necessarily stop there. He may appeal to the administrators of your hosting platform in an attempt to get them to censor your content. He may try to hack your account and bring down your channel that way. He may misquote and slander you in comments or posts on other platforms, and he will try to turn as many people against you as he can. Really, the only thing that limits the damage he can do is his own technical competence or lack thereof, and perhaps his own laziness. Troglocybus bellantibus is the reason that most content hosting platforms provide the capability to block certain users or hide your content from them. And while these features are helpful, this species of troll remains a potentially serious threat to content creators the world over. Troglocybus modus, the crowd follower troll. This is the guy whose psyche is so saturated with the collective mind of the masses that he is rendered utterly incapable not only of creative expression, but even of recognizing the value of creativity. Thus, whenever you post a video about something that's a little bit new or different or otherwise creative, sooner or later a Troglocybus modus will come along and comment incredulously, "Why on earth would you do such a thing? Why can't you just do the same old thing that everybody else does?" Indeed, they seem to follow the crowd so tenaciously that they feel deeply offended by your attempts to make a creative contribution to society. These trolls can be annoying and even frustrating, particularly when you're trying to make a creative contribution to society, but at the end of the day, they're relatively harmless. Troglocybus imitantus, the mimic troll. Probably a close relative of Troglocybus modus, Troglocybus imitantus is a troll that is incapable of original thought, even to the extent of composing the snide comments that his genus requires him to make. Thus, when he watches your video, this troll will simply copy derogatory comments that he finds on other videos that are more or less in the same category. This is one of the more amusing trolls to deal with, because most of the time his comments are not quite relevant to the video that he posts them on. For example, when I built my reverse cycle pump-action shotgun, the design definitely had some issues, as I have discussed elsewhere. However, I thought the welds turned out quite well. Moreover, I showed the gun to a friend of mine who also builds guns, and he thought the welds looked pretty good too, which is significant because, although he's retired now, he was a professional welder who spent the latter half of his career doing system-critical welds on nuclear reactors. However, weld quality has been a common problem on some of the other home-built gun videos on the internet. Many of Royal Nonesuch's early creations, for example, were remarkably functional but featured rather crude-looking welds. On multiple occasions, I have had a Troglocybus imitantus leave a comment on my reverse cycle shotgun video exclaiming, "Dude, welds look like crap!" I know exactly where he copied that from, and he could scarcely have found a more ridiculous place to paste it, which strikes me as pretty comical. Troglocybus callisto, the troll with no self-control. Another troll that is a bit comical, though in a sad sort of way, is Troglocybus callisto. Everyone has slightly different interests, and it is the overlap of interests, values, etc. that allows us to connect with people. I have a variety of interests, and I post a variety of content on my channel, fully expecting that people will watch what they are interested in and skip over what they're not interested in. However, I have found that this is not always the case. Troglocybus callisto is characterized by a complete inability to not watch anything that shows up in his media feed. On the contrary, if a video shows up in his feed, he is obligated to watch it all the way through, no matter what the cost. Thus, when videos that don't align well with his interests show up in his feed, he cannot simply skip over them, and so instead, he leaves comments pleading with the content creator to tailor their videos exclusively to his interests, and more especially to remove or at least stop making videos that don't interest him. In my case, maybe a Troglocybus callisto enjoys my gun videos, but implores me to stop making videos about the Psalms. Or maybe he loves the Psalms and begs me to discontinue everything else. I suppose that if you're trying to build up a YouTube channel as a business and hone in on the interests of a particular target audience, then maybe input from Troglocybus callisto might actually prove useful, at least on occasion. However, for hobbyists like myself, their comments usually just elicit a sigh and a sad chuckle as we read our comments for the day. Troglocybus autovendus, the advertising troll. This is the guy who has absolutely no interest in watching your video, but he sees that it has a lot of views, and so he clicks on it and leaves a comment as a way of calling attention to himself. Most often, he does this as a way of advertising for a product or service that he has an interest in or is being paid to promote. Sometimes he has an unrelated or competing channel of his own for which he hopes to scavenge viewers. Occasionally, he just seems to be promoting himself for no apparent reason. More often than not, comments left by Troglocybus autovendus get flagged and or deleted by spam filter algorithms, but occasionally they still show up on my videos where I may either ignore them or delete them depending on how flagrant they are. Troglocybus pseudajuris, the ill-informed lawyer troll. Truth be told, I'm not sure if I should classify this creature as its own species or as a subspecies, perhaps of Troglocybus pseudoperitus. Either way, this is the guy who goes around telling everybody on the internet that what they are doing is illegal. Occasionally, this may be someone who lives in a different legal jurisdiction and is trying to apply his own country's restrictive laws to the work that you are doing in a jurisdiction where it is perfectly legal. More often, though, he just fabricates non-existent legal technicalities to see how you will respond and, if possible, start some trouble. Now, unlike Troglocybus pseudoperitus, most of whose comments can safely be ignored, when Troglocybus pseudajuris publicly accuses you of breaking the law, that is not something that can be ignored, and that is why I've classified them as a different species. Occasionally, it may be worth responding to a comment left by Troglocybus pseudajuris and explaining how the law that he says you're breaking either does not apply or does not exist, but arguing with trolls is rarely productive. As such, my default response to Troglocybus pseudajuris is just to delete their comments. Troglocybus vilisceptor, the vulgar fan. This is the guy who becomes a fan of your channel and content, but just has such a dirty vocabulary that he doesn't know how to express himself without using profanity or crude sexual terms. Thus, he leaves comments which are intended to be complimentary, but which are also rather crude and typically consist mostly of profanity. It's hard to know what to do with these commenters. Should you respond to their comments, thanking them for their compliments? Or should you delete their comments to keep the comment page family-friendly? Sometimes that can be a hard call to make. In fact, I'm not even 100% sure that the vilisceptor species is properly classified as being part of the Troglocybus genus. They are certainly one of the most unusual species of trolls, if trolls they can properly be called. I think that covers all the species of cyber trolls that I've observed thus far. I suspect that additional species may exist, and it is possible that some of the species I have presented may be misclassified. However, I had to start somewhere, and currently I am not aware of anyone else doing this work. Perhaps this video will inspire other scientists in the social media community to pick up where I have left off. In any case, thank you for watching The Idahoan Show.